Welcome back to GA Fan TV. Dublin have sealed promotion back to the promised land of Division 1. They have beaten Louth by a scoreline of 16 points to 1-6. Comfortable win in the end, especially looking at the scoreline. You'd certainly expect it to have been as comfortable maybe as it sounds in the end. But to be honest with you, it probably wasn't the case. Like, Louth pushed Dublin quite close at times in this match. It was 5 points to 4 at half time. You know, that goal from Liam Jackson late on in the second half certainly dragged the game back ever so slightly. And you certainly got the impression that Louth had Dublin maybe a little bit on the ropes at different times in this match. They created goal chances, hit the post at one stage in the game as well. And it was, it got convincing towards the end. You know, Dublin started to hit a couple of points late on. The likes of Sean Bugler, I thought, had a very good game. Brian Fenton chipped away with a couple of points once again from a Dublin perspective. In the end, we done what was needed. We done what was needed to get the victory, get the result, and from a Louth perspective, they will take some positives from the game. You know, the fact that they were so competitive for large parts, the fact that they don't have someone like Sam Leroy who's obviously injured who's obviously injured for this game. But the likes of Kieran Downey and Liam Jackson still stood up in the match as well. And I think from a Dublin perspective, it wasn't perfect. There was a few lackadaisy shots, lackadaisy chances. We had a couple of goal chances ourselves. Like, one was cleared off the line, another one which Con O'Callaghan blazed over the bar. You would say that it wasn't vintage from a Dublin perspective. We didn't put the nail, we didn't put them to bed, probably earlier than we should have. And there were certainly moments in the game where Louth looked better. Louth looked like they maybe had us. But in the end, look, all in all, the result is the most important thing. And that was the case today for Dublin. We get the result, we get the victory, and we put ourselves back into Division 1. And I suppose the other big news really from today's game, and that's obviously what we have, in the thumbnail and obviously in the title as well. Stephen Cluxton making his return to the Dublin panel, as we will see on screen right there. Stephen Cluxton was spotted during the warm-up for Dublin, a man who, of course, is probably the most legendary figure to ever play for Dublin. The most legendary figure to ever play for Dublin GEA, a man who has won everything for Dublin. He has won, 8 All-Irelands? This man has won with Dublin, multiple league titles, double-digit Leinster titles, the greatest goalkeeper to ever play the game in Gaelic football and in GEA history, in my opinion. A man who reinvented how the goalkeeping role has been done, and so many others have followed suit. But as we know, he retired in 2021, going into the 2021 All-Ireland season. Rumours maybe that he wasn't happy with the training breach that took place, rumours that he wasn't happy with multiple things within Dublin GEA. As we very well know, there was never an official statement that he actually retired, and that was always the one that left us all a little bit in the dark. Did he actually retire? Did he not retire? Or what actually was going on there? All we heard was that he wouldn't be available. But, years have gone by. We're in 2023 now. He wasn't there last year. He wasn't there in 2021. He hasn't been there for the entirety of the league. And out of absolutely nowhere, he's come back for the final day of the league. And you're thinking, what is going on? It's a little bit bizarre. It's a little bit bizarre. Like, surely he hasn't just come back for one game. The Desi Farrell ring him during the week and say, Clucko, we have Louth are coming to town. Mickey Hart, they're looking good. We need you. We just need you. We need you back. And Cluxton's, getting himself out of bed because Louth are coming to town. I really don't know. It's a little bit strange, but one would imagine that he's not coming back for just this game, because he didn't even feature. That's one thing we should say, and he wasn't even named in the panel. But he was clearly visible through the warm-up. He was clearly warming up. He was clearly there, and he was clearly, part of the warm-up, part of the plan and procedure for the game. So one would wonder, is he going to be back now for the championship? Has he, a bit like Paul Mannion and Jack McCaffrey, decided, now is the time to come back. Now is the time to make the return to Dublin, considering that things haven't been so good for Dublin in the last couple of years, and maybe he feels now is the right time to come back. What is interesting is I have been impressed with Dave O'Hanlon at times this year. He's made big saves. He made one or two big saves at times today. He made a couple of big saves, you remember, against Cork. Probably one of the big reasons we're actually promoted is probably because of him. So it's interesting. It is interesting that Cluxton has made his return, and I would be curious to know what Dublin fans think, what other supporters think. Is he back now for the long run? Or what exactly is the long-term plan from a Dublin perspective? But yeah, very, very, very strange to see him back there, and the fact that this has been kept so under wraps is probably the most Stephen Cluxton thing ever. But I would be curious to know your opinions and your thoughts in the comments down below in regards to that. But yeah, in terms of the game, Sean Bugler I thought was impressive. 3 or 4 points from him. Brian Fenton done all right. A few lackadaisy passes here and there from Dublin, few disappointing wides and everything else, and it's probably been more in line with what we've seen from Dublin in the league. But I think now Dublin have done the job. They've got up to Division 1, and I think ultimately, Dublin will be judged off how we perform in the championship, and that is going to be the acid test. It's likely that we play Louth possibly in a Leinster final. Who knows? Who knows what happens with Louth, and we'll see. Meath are in a bit of turmoil at the minute. Haven't won in their last 5 matches. Got beaten again today by Kildare. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see sort of what the how the scenario develops and how things work. But I think for Dublin moving forward, the league will be the main focus. Obviously, Cormac Costello looked like he picked up a bit of an injury. Dean Rock didn't feature from what I've seen. Colm Maskell had some bright sparks. Killian O'Gara was a little bit more quiet than last week. So there's definitely a lot of work to be done. A lot of work to be done from a Dublin perspective. But ultimately, as I said at the top of the show, and as I've said in previous other videos, Dublin will be judged off the All-Ireland this year. And I think that is where we're going to know, when we get to that group stage, when we get to the All-Ireland series, if we play like how we've been playing, we won't go far. We won't go far. But what you would say is that we know Dublin have the potential to be better, to play better, and to be waiting in the long grass and produce big performances when it matters. Paul Mannion coming back was a positive. Good to see him, getting a run out. And Dublin's depth in their squad is looking a lot better this year than it certainly did in previous years, and that has to be a positive. And from a Louth perspective, look, what a year they've had, what a story they've had, getting to essentially what was a Division 2 semi-final in some ways, because if they hadn't won this game, they were into Division 1. So to take it to the final game, Louth's motivation and ambition at the start of the season would have been just to stay up, and the fact that they finished third in the end, it's an extraordinary achievement. And Mickey Hart has Louth going in the right direction, and who knows how far they can go under this man, and getting to a Leinster final is a possibility, and possibly even beyond that in the group stages. If Louth get a little bit of luck, an All-Ireland quarter final is not out of the realms of possibility. But look, big result for Dublin. We're back in Division 1. Happy days, and onwards and upwards towards the championship. So yeah, cheers anyone who tuned in. Let me know your thoughts on this game in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on Stephen Cluxton returning as well. Is he back? Is he back now? Because it would be strange for him to come back and then disappear again. But with Stephen Cluxton, you just never know. You just never know. It's quite a bizarre, he's quite a peculiar character at the best of times. So we'll see what happens with him. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, your opinions in the comments down below. My name is Aaron, and I will see you all in the next one.